Good evening. My name is Gerardo Cardona, and this is my PowerPoint on parenthood and children. This is a picture of my lovely wife, my 4-year-old boy, my 3-year-old boy, and of course myself, and also we're missing our newborn. This picture was taken about 8-9 months ago, so we have a total of 3 boys in the house now. We're going to be talking about factors to be considered when deciding to become a parent or not. Factor number 1, of course, is the rewards of parenthood, the cost of parenthood, and finally, the last factor is effect of couples' happiness. The rewards of parenthood. The first reward, of course, is the attainment of adulthood. It is said that men become real men when they have children and a family. And speaking on my end, my experience, that is a true statement. I believe that men mature once they have children, once they have that first baby, and of course your family, you're married, but once you start having kids and a family, that's when your life and your perspective changes on life itself with your family. Meaningful aspect of personal identity. There's a purpose. There's a purpose in having children. It's not just because you want to have kids, but I believe that when you do have kids, as a Christian, as a believer in the Lord, that's for me is it's a God-given gift that God gives you a purpose through your children and of course through your wife. Provides a sense of commitment and meaning in an uncertain social world. You become more mature in life. In other words, joy that comes from watching a child grow, seeing all my kids growing up and seeing them and my wife in labor and having them come into this world, it's probably the most wonderful experience that as a parent, as a father, you get to experience. You see life, you see the power of God, you see that, wow, there is a God, and the process of the baby coming into this world, and then you see how they grow from a baby, they move into a toddler's age, and eventually they become a little child. You see how they progress in different stages, and that in a sense is a miracle of God. And of course, immeasurable rewards. It's a blessing to have children. The cost of parenthood. This is really important for men. In 2013, the average cost for raising a child to age 18 was $245,000, and that's not including college. That's a little bit of not a little bit, that's a lot of money. The financial cost is sometimes really difficult. Me as a not a single parent, but as a only working parent in my household, I see that money is quickly dispersed, and we see that money goes into the children pretty much, and we spend a lot of money on diapers, on food. The cost of food is more expensive. The living expenses for our kids. Now I have my oldest boy is in a private Christian school, and that's a bit of an expense there itself. So it does come out to be really expensive as the years progress, and different stages, in which our children are eventually where life takes them. It becomes expensive. So opportunity cost, which is another one, opportunities for wage earning and investments, opportunities to pursue personal interest. I have, in my kids, on each of my children, me and my wife, we opened their college fund, some savings, because we know for a fact that college, besides now that it's extremely expensive, 15, 18 years from now, college will be extremely expensive. So we started at a really young age. Since they were born, we opened their college funds. One parent staying home faces the loss of half of more of its family income. I could say that in my own experience. God gave me the opportunity to have enough income to provide for my wife and for our 3 boys. And even though it's a little bit it's expensive and costly, but it is extremely worth the while, and it's a blessing from God to be able to provide for my family, and see my wife at home being with our kids, and it's a blissful. It's very blissful to have that blessing in life. Of course, the loss of freedom. That's another thing that we do have. We don't have that much freedom as before. How children affect couples' happiness. Children stabilize a union. A stable marriage is not necessarily a happy one. Even though we love our children to death, I love my wife, she loves me, but you will have your hardships, and you will have your ups and downs, and you will have those times in which sometimes you question yourself, and you start doubting on yourself and in your ability to be a husband or to be a wife and to be a parent at the same time. It is extremely, sometimes it is extremely stressful. But as a Christian, we leave everything in God's hands, and more than anything, God will always give us peace, and He will always bless our family if we put Him before anything. Parenthood creates stress among parents. We talked about that already. The new roles need to be taken by each parent. I see my wife, she multitasks. She's not only a mother, but she is the one who, at this point in this stage of our lives, she is raising our 3 boys, because I'm out in the field working. I'm out of my house almost 15 hours a day, including my work hours, including traffic. By the time I get home, my wife has been by herself the entire day, and that is a really difficult issue in our lives right now. But like I said, we put everything in God's hands, and God usually blesses us. Fathers may feel a reduced sense of confidence in their place in the family. It does happen, not all the time, but once in a while I do feel like left out. Mothers experience high levels of couple conflict. Very true. Changing trends in parenthood. Of course, the timing in parenthood, child spacing, having only one child, non-marital birth, single mothers by choice, multi-parent fertility. Timing parenthood. Until a few decades ago, parents were having children in their early 20s. Today, now America now considers childbirth having in their 20s, in their early 20s. I've seen nowadays that men and women are becoming they're becoming parents at an older age. A lot of my friends, for example, in their 30s and 40s, are just barely becoming parents, and I believe that's because of our social status and our socioeconomic status in the world. Countries that are lower, that have less income, or their economy is worse off, usually these countries tend to get married at a really early age, in their teens and in their early 20s, and they start having kids at a really early stage. Whereas the more advanced economy countries, they're more for waiting in life, and that's the life we live in. The benefits of early parenthood, of course, greater certainty of being physically able to have children. Raising children at an earlier age allows freedom to pursue other activities once the children are grown. Likelihood of having more time with children or even great-grandchildren. Benefits of a later parenthood allows time to personal development, career development, greater maturity, preparation, and parenthood. My experience, I waited at a later age. I got married in my mid-30s. I had my first child at the age of 38. I had my first child, and the benefits is that you have more disposable income, you're a little bit more mature, you are able to provide better, you are more mentally stable. But the setbacks, of course, is that you feel tired, physically you're a little bit more slow, and so on. Some parents decide to have children close in age because they started later and don't have much biological time. They usually, children nowadays we have children at a more closer age limit, whether to be 2 years or 3 years maximum. Experts report that optimal spacing of children is a minimum of 3 years. That's pretty much the normal now. 20% of American families only have one child. And that's because women's increasing careers opportunity, inadequate workplace support, high cost of raising a child, and greater peer support. And this is the child spacing, having only one child. Non-marital birth and single mothers, couples choosing not to marry but have children. 58% occur to cohabit mothers and 42% to unparented women. The single mothers have increased significantly for other women. Not found partner, have established careers, economic resources, and wants to be a parent. What are some advantages of parenting in the 21st century? Technology allows infertility treatment. Technology also, when I talk about technology, is technology and science allows for parent communication with children. We see that in the modern social media, cell phones, iPads, iPhones, computers, drones. Communication is much better nowadays. What are some disadvantages of parenting in the 21st century? Peer pressure, of course, work and parent roles. Working mothers, mothers that are at work for a long time, they have less time to be with their kids. And of course,